Hello, this is Mike at GameFromScratch, and welcome to a quick hands-on of the Construct 3 game engine. Now, as the name might suggest, Construct 3 is the third iteration of the Construct game engine, and the Construct game engine is one of those visual-oriented 2D game engines. It's along the lines of Game Maker, Stencil, ClickTeam Fusion, etc., in that you don't require scripting to really get into things. Now, you can, behind the scenes, write some JavaScript code for extensibility, and it's ultimately an HTML5 engine, but that's pretty redundant to the end user. It's a 2D game engine with a visual programming interface, as we will see in a moment. Now, Construct 3 has changed the formula up quite a bit. First off, it went browser only for now. They're going to do a desktop version in the future, apparently, but for now you need to have the most current version of Chrome to run it. Now, it's a standalone application or an offline application, so you don't need to be connected to the internet past your initial connection. So it's basically an application that runs on your desktop within Chrome. The other part of the change, and I'm not going to get into the politics of this, but they moved to a subscription model. So Construct 3 is going to cost $99 a year, and that's going to give you access to all of the supported platforms, which is basically HTML5, your various mobile devices, and your various desktop devices. So, you know, pretty broad reach there. If you were previously a Construct subscriber, there might be some value in there in that you used to pay for individual platforms, whereas for other people, it's going to be a much more expensive proposition, and some people just hate subscriptions. But I'm not going to get into any of that beyond to let you know right up front. So if you're the person that hates subscriptions, well, it's been nice talking to you, and I will see you in the next video. But if you're still interested, you come on down here to actually load the editor up. You just go to editor.construct.net. Now, right now, in the beta version, you can only get this trial. So everybody has access to this free edition, and you can jump in and just start going. You see here, I'm actually logged in, but there are some limitations on what this can do. Quite a few limitations, actually, but we'll do a quick look at a full example, and then I'll walk you through like the coding experience, you know, for a very, very basic example that we'll create. Now, you'll see here there's a number of game demos that you can start with. Well, there's 3, but there's also a number of templates. I don't know what the difference between a template and a game demo is, because they're basically the same thing. And then they've got beginner examples, which are, again, kind of the same thing. Intermediate examples, advanced examples. So you see falling blocks. It's basically another game. You can see there's tech demos, and we'll go back to the game demos. We'll show you just one of their more elaborate examples. So for example, Kiwi Story, we'll go ahead and just open that project up, and boom, we're in. Now this is kind of the main editing interface. Over here is your dynamic, going to switch on the fly properties window for whatever the currently selected item is. Over here you have your overall project layout, you have a layers control over here and a tile map control down there. And then here's your main editing window. Your main application window is down here. There's also some options, so you can actually go into, they have a store available, they have various add-ons available, but we're not going to really cover those there. Just be aware that there is a construct-oriented asset store where you can go and buy demos, sprites, music, etc. So you'll see over here in the project setting, we've got different categories here, but the most important ones you're going to see. So most of this is just assets. So this is, you know, the sound files that go together to make up your, you know, the audio component of your game. Right-click, you get context menu. So for example, we could preview that particular sound. It'll bring up the appropriate window. We've got the same thing for music, and again, preview ability, like so. And, you know, fonts, videos, icon files, and just raw files. So there's your just normal straight up assets. Families can be thought of as groups. This is your way of grouping, and, you know, so then you can logically handle code on all of these entities all together. So this is like a logical grouping of things together. So all your enemies can be grouped together. So all of these things are in the enemies group. But the main things, the main important parts of the project are ultimately layouts, event sheets, and object types. Now, object types are kind of equivalent to game object in, say, a Unity environment. These are the things that populate your game. These are game objects per se. So you've got, for example, here, we've got special effects. These are the various system components. We'll get into that in a little bit. But level objects, for example, the player. So you see here, for example, is the NPC player. And you drill down into that, you can see the sprites that are attached. The sprite has things like setting the pivot point. The pivot point has been set to the bottom. We could edit that here. The animations, so the idle, there's 2 animations set up for this guy, idle and jump. So we can pick jump. And we could go ahead and preview that animation. Okay, that animation has no frames. Let's go back to idle, preview it, and you see there is the animation in effect. And got some controls over here. We can switch back between the image point or the pivot point setting and the animation property settings. And we'll just shut that guy down. So you see with that guy selected, also over here, this guy was populated with all the appropriate things. Now, there's a couple of really cool things we can do over here, and again, we will see that in a moment. But for the most part, this is where all your various instance variables and settings go, your position, etc. So so level objects basically composes all of the stuff that goes to make up your game, be it background images, be it tile maps, be it characters, coins in the scene, etc. And even plugins, which we'll see in a moment. They are all under the objects type category. Next up, we have layouts. Now, layouts is the logical way that the game is broken up. These are the equivalent of states or levels in other game engines. Sorry, 1 second. All right. So that is how you would logically break your game up into different pieces. Right now, we have, actually, I'm not sure which one we have open. We have title screen open. So you see up here, title screen. And this is, then in turn, we have the event sheet E title screen. So title screen is basically this guy. So we can navigate around the scene. It's not really an exciting scene, but we can switch over to another one in a second. But you'll see this event sheet. Event sheets are ultimately the programming model. This is the code, per se, behind Construct 3. And we'll walk through exactly how it works in a moment. But this is the code that runs when this event sheet is displayed. So when the title screen is shown, it will run this particular event sheet. Now let's take a look at an event sheet. So e-title screen, like so. And we'll bring it up, and you see the various different pieces that will happen. Can I get, yeah, I can get rid of you. Okay, so you'll see the action here, and then what to do. So system level action on start of layout, we're going to set the current menu to that value. Call the function menu select, which does this stuff. Here we start the game, set the sprite font, text is set to start game, and various other things. We'll look at the coding logic behind an event sheet in a second. But this is essentially how your game is programmed. And if it scares you at first, don't worry about it. It's not actually that difficult. Now you also see we've also got one here for the player. So the ultimate player sprite is controlled by this event sheet. And you can see it's a lot more complicated. So we've got passive player engine. So on input, different player function, player animation controllers, and on hurt and death. So say for player input, if they press move right, so keyboard right arrow is down, call the function player move. And then we come on down here, here's the player function, so that was function player move, and then it goes ahead and does these particular calls. Again, we will look at the specifics in a second when we start from scratch. So we go back here, let's look up at a slightly more complicated example. Here is a forest level loaded up. So you can see the level goes on for quite a while. At particular points, it will jump to the next part. So with this guy opened up, we can go ahead and press play, and you will see, there we are. So we're starting off right here, I believe, in our code, and there is our player right there. I believe it's arrow keys control this guy, and then Z to jump. So this is one of the examples that ships with it. And here is the ultimate level that is controlling that. So you see here, here's the player sprite within this level. Click it, and you'll see, oh, that's not what I wanted to load. Okay, so this is a different camera zone. So we come down here, so you see with the forest selected, we have all the different things that went together to control it. So you've got selections of layers, etc. So we got the objects layer, and that's what I want to ultimately do. I want to pick up this guy right here. So I'm going to turn off the collision layer, the tile map layer, backdrops, blah, blah, blah. So we have just our objects. I can go ahead, I can now select our player, no problem. And then you can see its individual settings. We could also go ahead and instance something in here. So in our object layers, if we wanted to go ahead and add, so example, one of these, which is a collectibles, we could just go into the objects layer. We can go over to object types, level objects, collectibles, and grab one, and then just instance it. So now when we added that guy to our world, let's put him down right here. We go ahead and play, and now you will see it's there. and been added. And now we can interact with it. So I believe if I jump into it, it will hit it, and so on. And I imagine there is a sheet controlling him. So let's go find it. No. Must be a part of the player. So anyways, that is ultimately how a larger example is done. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a very much from scratch example. So let's just close this project out. Don't save it. So I'm going to create a new project. And here we are, our own brand new project. We're going to go up to the very top here. New project. Your top level application settings are up here. We're just going to set our viewport to 640 by 480. Like so, automatically updates our letterbox. This controls how full screening is handled, sort of like on your TV, so it automatically scales appropriate to what you want. You can set your sampling settings, etc. But here is your basic application. Title it up here, my application. So those are your global application settings. You'll see it renamed itself up here, and then we have our first level here. So I'm going to also set the level to the same size as our screen. 640 by 480. So here is our initial level. We will call the level 1, and the event sheet behind it is already set, event sheet 1. And we're not going to do a whole lot of programming, but I will leave that as it is. So now what we want to probably do is add some, say a level to this guy. So first things first, come down to object types. We'll add a new object. And what we are going to use is a tile map. So tile maps can actually be brought in from TMX format, so the tiled level editor. If that is your choice, there is an annoying bug. Again, this is beta software, but automatically you're in a weird scaling mode right away. So our tile map, let's double click that guy. It brings up the tile map editor, and there's the default tile map it's using, but I'm going to go ahead and use my own. So let's load one from file. Tiles pack. And boom. Is all right. So we've got various different things. We could actually edit and paint our images and affect things right here. So now let's go ahead, close that down. So we can come down here now and we see our tile map is available to us. So now we actually need to instance one in the world, however. So just drag a tile map into our world, line it up to match, like so. And let's start off with a fill mode. Let's make this guy dark gray background. And we'll just go into paint mode. Paint out our level very quickly. So this is how you would create a tile map level. Now you don't have to. You could also easily come in and create, you could bring in a single image. You can have background images. You can create various different layers, no problem. That again is in the layer section. So we could create a new layer below it, above it, and then add in various different types of objects available down here. But for keeping this example simple, we'll stick with our tile map. So, level 1 is edited. Let's go back to our tile map, add a little bit more inner detail. You can do selection-based ranges, like so. Paint mode. Not the world's most interesting map, but it is a map. So we've got a single layer. We do have tile map. Now the cool thing is Z ordering is available, so when you paint things layers above or below each other, it is taken into effect. And you see we got a lot of different settings we can actually set with our tile map. So tile width, tile height, the X offset, Y offset. So if you're using isometrics, for example, you can do special effects. We'll touch on that in a little bit. We've got multiple layers available within the tile map on top of layers available inside of the level. So two different things, but same ultimate effect. So you can have multiple layers of tiles on top of each other. So I could, especially if I imported them. And yeah, so that is a level now part of level 1 available up here. We added that tile map object. So we could have, as I said earlier, if we had background clouds or whatever, we could bring it in as or we could add a particle system, etc., as part of the level. In this particular case, we're happy with this. So now what we need is a player. Let's come on back here. Oops. Did not mean to do that. But as you can see, some functionality, like adding a subfolder, is not available in the free version. So what I actually meant to do was add a new object and of type Sprite. So this would be like our player Sprite. Again, that selection bug is really irritating when you add a new object. All right, so here it is. We will rename the player. So, and we should probably actually add some kind of a graphic for this guy, right? So open it up and load from file. Alright, so here is our guy. What I'm going to do is actually rotate it 90 degrees. You see our pivot point is set to the midpoint, and done. So now we can actually create our player. And same process, just drag and drop it into the world. Now obviously you'd probably want to do another layer and make this the sprites layer, because right now we're doing everything all in one layer, and that's going to get sloppy pretty quick, but easy enough for now. Once things get a little bit more complicated, you're going to probably want to get a little bit more complex with your layer handling. So we just added a player into the world. Now how do we actually control this player? Well, there's a couple ways we can go about this. First off is the easiest mode. This is a lot like using built-in components, drag and drop level components like you would in Unity. So we come back to the player, we come up here, go add behaviors or edit behaviors. We can add a new behavior, and you see there's a lot of stuff that's built right in. So we could wrap it around the screen, 8-way movement controls, bullet controls, pathfinding, platforming. So just stuff to make your life easier. We could also add physics to this, so we do physics right away. And then with physics selected, you'll see down here you've got the various different options available. So the gravity, the density, etc. And let's close that out. We'll do a quick play. And then here you see physics in action. Now that's not actually the component I wanted to use. So let's select this guy, select our behaviors, and we will delete that guy and add the 8-way movement control one. So we now have 8-way movement control for our sprite, and that's really all I needed to do. I'll go ahead and press, and you'll see as I arrow around, I have sprite controls. So you can very, very quickly get whatever kind of setting you want going. Or you could have coded that yourself. But if you look, with that guy selected, you can edit the values of behaviors. So that guy, so you see maximum speed, the acceleration, deceleration. I could switch it to just 4 directions instead of the allowing angles, change the way that it works and moves around, etc. Or we could have, again, as I said, coded it ourselves. And let's look at that process now. A little bit of logic to this reading. Let's say we want to add some music that plays when our game starts. So first off, we need to add some music. Oh, waves. So this will come in. It's being encoded into WebM format for us. So give it a couple seconds while this runs. Done. So import it. So we now have this music available to us. Now let's actually have it so that when our level, so level 1 you'll see is controlled by this event sheet 1. When our level starts, we want to go ahead and play that actual music. So here is your default screen for controlling events. We'll add an event here, and we'll go the various different things or the conditions this event starts from. And we're going to do this one, a system event, and we'll do this on start of layout. So when this layout is started, we'll add the action and say, oh wait, I don't have music here yet. Well, that's where those other object types came in, those system level ones. So add new object type, and what we're going to do is add in audio support. So click audio. So now it is available across the entire project. We come back here to add our action, and you'll see now it's available here. So go ahead, audio, and then we'll play. You'll see it's already picked up. We can set it to loop or not loop. We can change its volume, and then done. So now if I go ahead and press play, when our game starts, you'll hear very quietly our audio playing in the background. So very straightforward, very simple, very cool. So that is how you can control your programming. Now let's say we want to actually, instead of using the 8-way, we want to do a little bit of logic on our sprite guy using the same system. So let's go ahead and add another event. Instead, we'll fire this one off of the player, like so. And we can do things like, actually I don't want to do that. I want to do it on the mouse. So let's go object types, add new, and you'll see we also have for input, we have gamepad, keyboard, mouse, and touch. So I'm going to add a mouse event. So mouse options are now available. So add event on mouse, and we'll do it on a click. So on a left click, this event is going to fire. And the action it's going to do is on our player. So our player is now going to rotate towards the point of the mouse click. So let me just find that guy. Rotate towards. I'm not blind, I know it's here. rotate toward position. There we go. So now we need to get our positioning here. We'll use find expression, and what we want to do is mouse.x. And then a bit of a spoiler, this one is going to be mouse.y. You'll see you get code completion in there where it makes sense, and done. Now you'll, excuse me, losing my voice today. 0 degrees probably isn't what we want, so let's rotate by 6 degrees towards each mouse click. Now we go ahead and run that, and you'll see as I click the mouse, it is going to rotate 6 degrees towards whatever direction that actual click is. Now we still have our 8-way controls and our music playing in the background, and so on and so forth. But you do get an idea. That is ultimately how the programming model works. And you can get things pretty complicated. So you come in here, system is going to be pretty important. So you've got all the various different pieces that ultimately go into your world. So all the entities that make up your world, such as our player, we can set things on our player. So on if a collision happens, if it overlaps with something else, if it's picked, if it's in a certain location, etc. We then do things accordingly. But what we are going to do here is actually show you system. System is kind of your game loopish stuff. And you can do things like every tick. So whatever you put in here in the logic for every tick, this is every pass through the game loop. Whatever action you define here is going to happen. So I could come in here to player and I could say, let's say I move by, all right, move forward by 1. All right, so every single frame we are now going to move forward by 1 pixel. And you'll see that's exactly what's happening. So this is ultimately your coding interface. You can break this up into however you want to organize it. So you saw earlier they had an event sheet to control the player. They have, in this case, we've got one giant one to control the level. And that's kind of the gist of it. It's a pretty straightforward system. You can extend it with JavaScript. You can create your own plugins, etc., way beyond the scope of what I want to talk about today. But just do be aware that that is available. Now, another thing you can come down, you've got various different, you can create instance variables to attach to that can be used programmatically throughout the logic. You can also do that at the player level. So you can see we can add an instance variable to him. There's special effects we can do. So here, let me show you at a global level. So we'll add a special effect to our entire level. So you see effects here. Go ahead and add one. We can add a new effect, and then you see these various different, these are basically the equivalent of GLSL shaders, etc., but you don't really have to do any work. So let's say we wanted to put a cartoon shader on this guy. Toon. There you see. So now we've added an effect. Now it's way overly done, so let's set this guy to 80% instead. And so there you can see the end result of that particular effect processing. And we can go much further along the lines, much more powerful ones, like such as, for example, water. And this is actually a distortion level effect. So you can see there, now if we go ahead and run our game, we have this water filter being applied over top of it. So you can do some pretty powerful stuff pretty easily in this guy. It's an impressive engine. If the workflow may not be to your liking, it's not going to please everybody, but it's done so in a way that is quite impressive. You can get up and coding and create something very impressive in a very, very short period of time. And the process, for the most part, is intuitive. I think people might struggle a little bit with the logic of breaking their stuff up into event sheets, but that's really the only struggle. Otherwise, tools are exactly where you expect them to be. Global settings are pretty much what you'd expect them to be. Now, I can't get into showing you things like publishing or anything like that, simply because they're not enabled here. I don't know if we've got any access. Oh, we do have access to control the add-ons. So we can install various new add-ons, and this is where your scripting would come in, but I believe it's not even going to be a possibility at this particular point in time. But we saw these in action, so this is a combination of your special effects, your, as we saw earlier, we can add behaviors that way. So fade behavior added there. Etc. Those can all be extended via code behind the scenes, and that's what that add-on manager was showing there. And then the final thing I will show you before I wrap this one up is, I suppose, their store. I mentioned it earlier. Here you can see it's available here. Now, a lot of this is aimed at Construct 2, so I don't know how useful this stuff is in Construct 3, but you can definitely get into it for the assets. There are a number of different Sprite packs and templates and such available for you out there, music bundles, etc. It's always nice to have these stores available, especially if you're incapable of creating this stuff yourself. So it is definitely an option available for you. All right, well, before I lose my voice completely, which is going to be very, very soon, I'm going to wrap this one up. So that today, what we looked at was Construct 3, available at editor.construct.net to jump right into the beta, or at Scirra, SCIRRA.com is the maker of Construct 3. Definitely one of those things worth checking out. Now, another thing that's coming up is there's a beta, or there's a game jam coming up in a week or two that they're going to unlock. Oh, wait, not a week or two. May 15th through the 21st, there's the Newground Game Jam, and they're going to completely unlock all of the functionality for that particular week. So if you do want an idea of the full scope of what Construct 3 is capable of, come back May 15th, and you'll be able to access the entire thing. But everything you saw today is in the limited free edition. Of course, we can't publish, and that's one of the big downsides here. But I hope you did find that useful. And this is an interesting engine. As I said, it's not going to be for everyone. But you know what? If you're just starting out, I don't see a lot of reasons not to recommend this guy. Especially if the free edition has some limited level of publishing ability. Because some people are going to find that $99 a month subscription a little untenable. But if you're using this to create games, it's very much a reasonable amount. So it all depends on, again, your perspective. But if you did enjoy that, please do click like. And if you're interested in game engines, game tutorials, game art, you name it, we cover it here. So if that sounds good, please do hit that subscribe button. Alrighty, see you all later. Goodbye.